In this case, we have a gentleman who's, given his life to Christ for 25, 30 years in Raphael Warnock, running against someone who is the best runner ever in Georgia. Is there, how do you toe that line of who the more religious, the more Christian candidate is?
Well, I see Warnock as more of a charlatan than a man of God, personally. Just by the way he conducts himself, and the money he takes from George Soros and people like that. So I've got no problem supporting Herschel.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And voters in Georgia that are set on Herschel Walker being the more believable man of faith are choosing to vote for him over an actual reverend who speaks at the same church as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at. You'll notice that these people have convinced themselves that the, quote, true man of God has to be the one with an R next to their names. It seems like our constant mixing of religion and politics have led some to believe that there is no way someone can be both liberal and religious, though it is completely false.
Well, I think that, it doesn't matter, if you're a pastor or how many days you attend church. It's your relationship with the Lord and how you lead that, and how you lead that in your everyday life and how you lead others.
Every time Herschel comes out, he talks about God. He wears a St. Michael guardian angel, and those are things from the visible spectrum. But Raphael Warnock, when he talks, you don't really hear him talk much about what God does for him and what he does for God. It's important that people don't just say, oh, well, I expect this from God, but they say, I do this for God. Herschel offers everything he does good for God,
The blurring of those church and state lines really becomes clear when you interview people that are a reliable base for the Republican Party. They would rather have a Republican who has been accused of paying for multiple abortions, who now says he is pro-life, than someone who is pro-choice politically, but maybe not in their personal life. Listening to these people for too long may make you feel like you're going to have a nosebleed, so do so carefully. They are set in their ways. Some of them really make no sense, and some of them don't seem to care that none of it makes sense. They are just as dedicated to having that power in the Senate as anyone in politics.
He's a Christian. He received Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. All that's washed away. He's a great man. We support him.
Okay, and I'm going to ask, because I'm a reporter, I got to be the not the devil's advocate, but I have to shout. Raphael Warnock has been he's been brought Christ into his life 25 years ago. He's had a pulpit and as a pastor and as a reverend for a long time. What's the difference between the two?
It's a big difference. You just look at their lives. Ralph Warnock, what he supports, stands for abortions, all the bad stuff. And Herschel Walker stands for life. That's a biggie. That's a biggie right there.
But it seems as though the real hypocritical nature of defending someone as a warrior for God and a warrior for life who has had abortion scandals and threatened to kill more than one person, all of that is lost on these people. Or their core morals, that true relationship with God, is a bunch of lies.
Well, here's the thing. It's such a double standard, and that's what Democrats do. They're complaining about him forcing someone to get an abortion, but they're pro-choice. So it makes no sense. And that's what Democrats do. They like to spin things just to make it look evil, what it is. I don't know if he did it or not. The bottom line is he's the right choice. I mean, I've heard numerous things about Warnock, him dumping his kids in a parking lot, trying to run over his wife. And the bottom line, when I watch him speak, I think he's a snake oil salesman. I don't trust anything he says. I followed Herschel Walker since he played football. He's a good man. Donald Trump supports him, and I'm a big Donald Trump fan. So in my mind, he's the right choice.
I'm honestly leaning towards the fact that all this seems to go over their heads, because God bless these people, but some of them just ain't got much going on behind the eyes. And the others really seem to try and dodge the messiness of supporting someone like Walker.
What is it about Walker that you like a lot, other than the fact that he's not the other guy?
Well, to me, he may have made some mistakes in the past. Hey, everybody makes mistakes in the past. If you're a good Christian, you'll overlook that. You'll forgive them. Warnock will not do that. He's a liar. He's got people in his apartment houses he's got. They're treating him bad, and that ain't right.
Yet, you talk about good Christian. He's somebody who's given his life to Christ for over a quarter century. Does that play in for you at all?
You talking about Herschel?
No, I'm talking about Warnock, Reverend Warnock.
No, he's bad. He's bad news. Strictly bad news. All from A to Z. He's bad news.
I was just talking about from a Christian. You said Christian with Walker. The Christian standpoint. He is somebody who's given his life to Christ for a long time now. How do you balance that?
I look at the man. I look at his heart. I look at his head, mind, and his brain. Because I'm a union man. I work for a freight company, and I have a lot of black friends there. We all talk about, discuss this, discuss that, and some of them say that they're real nice and they're racist, but they are racist.
The ones in the Union Hall.
On some of them, yeah.
Take, for instance, the man in the camo Trump hat who refers to looking into Herschel's heart and mind. Just think about that for maybe 2 seconds. If you've heard Herschel speak, you know that he makes no sense. He rambles. He compares apples to oranges. He doesn't speak with any substance whatsoever. But these people fall in line behind him, just like they did with Trump. Credentials and experience and ability to serve, all of that takes a back seat because they believe that somehow Herschel Walker will be the one to save the country from abortion. And that seems to be the dividing issue from the evangelicals and Southern Baptist base.
As a pastor, I mean, his stand on abortion is a little disturbing as a pastor because every life is precious. And he dismisses that. And, that I have a big question mark there. I mean,
but you have that for Warnock. I'm just doing my job here. You have that for Warnock, but you don't have that for Walker, who is alleged in several, let's say at least 2, and then today's is a 3rd, cases to have urged someone, to have paid for, to have made sure that they have that abortion.
And again, it's alleged. And so if we were to judge everyone by a collective spin, none of us would get a job anywhere.
But their dedication to outlawing abortion has no basis in what the majority of Americans want and what is acceptable policy-wise for the entire country. There are so many nuances to reproductive health care, but you won't catch them trying to learn about any of it because they believe that it is their religious obligation to change laws based on what they believe, and it is anti-American. Also, recall how none of these same types of people wanted to wear a mask or save lives in the pandemic. Those are different than those unborn babies. If it's between the teenager who got pregnant or your grandmother, they're taking your mamaw out with the cough. Tuesday the 6th is the day, Georgia. Get out and vote. Don't let these people speak for the majority of you all, and don't let them put Herschel Walker in the Senate. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.